The Hollywood actor Johnny Depp has lost an attempt to overturn a damning high court ruling that concluded he assaulted his ex-wife Amber Heard and left her in fear for her life. Depp wrecks Heard and NY Supreme Court, blasts her desperation. Following a 3-week trial in July last year, Mr. Justice Nicole dismissed the star's libel claim against the publisher of The Sun, finding that a column published in April 2018 calling Depp a wife-beater was substantially true. The judge that ruled Depp, 57, assaulted Heard, 34, on a dozen occasions and put her in fear for her life 3 times. The actor asked the Court of Appeal to grant permission for him to challenge the ruling with the aim of having its findings overturned and a retrial ordered. However, following a hearing last week, on Thursday, the court refused Depp permission to appeal. Lord Justice Underhill and Lord Justice Dingemans emphasized that an appeal against the trial judge's decision on questions of disputed fact faced serious difficulties. Part of Depp's argument relied on further evidence that Heard had not yet given away most of the $7 million or £5.1 million she received in her divorce settlement, which she had said she was donating to charity. At last week's hearing, Depp's barrister Andrew Caldecott, QC, said the claim was a calculated and manipulative lie, which gave Heard a considerable boost to her credibility as a person and tipped the scales against Mr. Depp from the very beginning. But Lord Justice Underhill said, "We do not accept that there is any ground for believing that the judge may have been influenced by any such general perception as Mr. Caldecott relies on. In the first place, he does not refer to her charitable donation at all in the context of his central findings. On the contrary, he only means it in a very particular context and after he had already reached his conclusions in relation to the 14 incidents." Underhill concluded his ruling by saying, "We refuse Depp's application to admit further evidence in support of his proposed appeal, and we conclude that the appeal has no real prospect of success and that there is no other compelling reason for it to be heard. We accordingly refuse permission to appeal." Depp's UK lawyer Joel Rich of Schilling's Partners said the evidence presented at last week's hearing further demonstrates that there are clear and objective reasons to seriously question the decision reached in the UK court. She said Depp looked forward to presenting the complete, irrefutable evidence of the truth in the US libel case against Heard, where she will have to provide full disclosure. A spokesperson for Heard said, "We are pleased but by no means surprised by the court's denial of Mr. Depp's application for an appeal. The evidence presented in the UK case was overwhelming and undeniable. To reiterate, the original verdict was that Mr. Depp committed domestic violence against Amber on no fewer than 12 occasions and she was left in fear for her life." The verdict and lengthy, well-reasoned judgment, including the confidential judgment, have been affirmed. Mr. Depp's claims of new and important evidence was nothing more than a press strategy and has been soundly rejected by the court. A spokesperson for The Sun said, "The Sun had every confidence that this leave to appeal application would not be granted and are pleased with today's decision. The case had a full, fair and proper hearing and today's decision vindicates the courageous evidence that Amber Heard gave to the court about domestic abuse, despite repeated attempts to undermine and silence her by the perpetrator. The Sun will continue to stand up and campaign for victims of domestic abuse." Billed as the biggest English libel trial of the 21st century, Johnny Depp's 16-day legal battle with Rupert Murdoch-owned tabloid newspaper The Sun concluded on Tuesday after both sides made their closing arguments at the High Court. Judge Justice Nicole is now set to take the coming weeks to deliberate over a verdict, which he is not expected to deliver until September at the earliest. It is likely to be a long wait for Depp, who has staked his reputation on the often ugly libel action in which he has sought to disprove The Sun's claim that he is a wife-beater. On the steps of the court on Tuesday evening, Heard acknowledged it had been a bruising 3 weeks, saying it had been incredibly painful to relive the breakup of my relationship. Depp vehemently denies her allegations, with his attorney David Sherborne telling the court in his closing remarks that Heard is a compulsive liar and that his client is no wife-beater. When Justice Nicole delivers her verdict, it will come down to this: If the judge rules in Depp's favor, it will effectively exonerate him from claims that he assaulted Heard. If the decision goes against the actor, he will ultimately be deemed a wife-beater in an English court of law. But it's unlikely to be the end of the matter. Depp is suing Heard for $50 million in Virginia over a Washington Post column she wrote about domestic violence, a case that could reopen all the wounds that have been raked over in detail over the past 3 weeks in London. For the past 3 weeks, the attention of the movie fans have been focused on one place: London's grand neo-Gothic Royal Courts of Justice. Not because of a shoot. Almost every day since July 7, Johnny Depp has walked into Court 13 here, where he is suing the owners of The Sun, a British tabloid newspaper, and its executive editor Dan Wootton for libel over a 2018 article that called Depp a wife-beater and said there was overwhelming evidence that he had assaulted the actress Amber Heard during the pair's marriage. Depp denies all the claims. The proceedings have aired unsavory details of the marriage, from their drug and alcohol use to the moment excrement was found in bed, and it has potential implications for both actors' careers, with a verdict likely either to give Heard more prominence in the #MeToo movement or to leave her accused of having hijacked it, said Nick Wallace, a journalist who has live-tweeted much of the trial proceedings and has put court documents online. Only one party seemed to be benefiting so far, Wallace added: The Sun. The case had generated so much publicity for the paper that even if it loses, it's a win-win, he said. Depp and Heard met while making The Rum Diary in 2011, a film based on a book by Hunter S. Thompson. They married in February 2015, but Heard filed for divorce just over a year later and obtained a temporary restraining order against Depp after accusing him of hitting her. She said at the time, according to the Associated Press, that she had endured excessive emotional, verbal, and physical abuse in the relationship. She withdrew those claims the day before a restraining order hearing was scheduled, and the divorce was finalized with a $7 million settlement. In a joint statement, the two declared neither party has made false accusations for financial gain. There was never any intent of physical or emotional harm. But the allegations did not go away. Depp is suing Heard for defamation in the United States over that article, which he says led to him being dropped from the Pirates of the Caribbean movie franchise.